I said what in the butt. I said what in the butt. You want to put it my butt in my butt. You want to put it my butt in my butt. What in the butt. What in the butt. You want to put it my butt in my butt. You want to put it my butt in my butt. Good morning. Happy Saturday. I don't think I'm going to get a lot of people in here, but I do have Nasty Nate. Probably hasn't slept last night. Be strong, Nasty. Anyway, I figured we would go over Rick Hobbs, Ricky Lee Hobbs. Chille did a video about him today. Um, we have the source video, and I figured I would go over the source video. Now, I do want to caution everybody that, as Bertrand Russell once famously said, I love this quote: a stupid man's report of what a clever man says can never be accurate, because he unconsciously translates what he hears into something he can understand. And of course, he's limited to his own ability to understand. I recognize this in Chille's report of my critique of Chille's California complaint. He said that I was okay with all of these things that I don't recall being okay with. I mean, if Chille's interpretation of a lot of these things were accurate, if his understandings of them were accurate, if his facts were accurate, I would not be in favor of those things happening. But then again, that doesn't mean that they're illegal or they're actionable or that there's any causes of action for them. That's the difference. But Chille doesn't understand that because he's a stupid man. And so he translates these things into something that he can understand. And inevitably, he screws it up because he can't grasp the true nature of these things. So we're going to go and watch this here video by Rick Hobby. You know what? I don't think that I'm going to put a link to the actual video here in the live chat to send viewers his way. I apologize. I don't think I put it in the description, but I will pin a comment to this bad son of a gun with the link to Rick Hobby's video. And anyway, let's get to it. To set the stage, Rick Hobby is in Michigan, just so you know. So Michigan law is going to apply. I am not licensed to practice law in Michigan, and so anything that I say here is just my understanding as a law school graduate, as a licensed attorney in a different state. It's just my understanding of these various laws. So, with no further ado, let's hear from Rick Hobby what he has to say.
I'll be damned. Well, presentation, huh? Send a video. Everybody wants to be a YouTube star. If I could do it without being a star, I'd be very happy. But I just know that I'm going to have to be in the spotlight in order to reveal all this corruption. That's the only way it's going to work. Anyways, Chille.
One thing I do want to point out, I do have him on 2x speed. I'm not going to play the entire video. There's going to be some sections that I'm going to leave out. This is intended to be fair use commentary and criticism. I'm not particularly concerned about a copyright lawsuit, but whatever. And as I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of mentions about this, I'm not really here to criticize Ricky Hobby about his housekeeping skills. I mean, you don't know his particular financial situation or his abilities. You know, he might have some disabilities that we don't understand or can't grasp. So I'm not here to pick on the man. I want to make that clear. I'm aware I have eyes, but I'm not here to judge him for this.
You want a video? Well, I'll give you one. August 7th of last year, I was arrested because I was open carrying a 9mm on my side, practicing my Second Amendment. But I've had the concealed weapon permit before. But in 2018, I just didn't renew the license.
So one thing that you should never do is you should never admit on camera to breaking the law. He says he was open carrying it. He says he had a concealed carry permit at one time, and then he decided not to renew it. Bear that in mind. He says he was open carrying and decided not to renew his CCW. What could possibly go wrong at this point?
reading the Constitution, I always thought that when I ran across that word, inalienable rights, not to be infringed.
Inalienable rights not to be infringed. Well, this is the complete text of the United States Constitution. I got it from constitutioncenter.org. It has the entire Constitution in it, including all of the amendments. It's got everything, including the Second Amendment in it. Now, there's this little function you can do. It's called Control F. That's find. It will allow you to find on the page. And like if I type Constitution, look, it starts finding Constitution. If I type inalienable, it doesn't find anything. Now, why doesn't it find inalienable? When someone tells you that they run across a word in the Constitution, sometimes you might want to think for yourself, is that word in the Constitution? Now, I personally, I want to be very clear. I agree with Ricky Hobby's interpretation of the Second Amendment, where he should be allowed to open carry. He should not have to have a CCW. That's my understanding. But that's just my understanding. So, the Supreme Court, the Michigan legislature, they have a different understanding of what should happen. And so I am not justified in substituting my desires for theirs. Why would you need one? Well, because the Michigan Penal Code, Act 328 of 1931, Section 750.227, a person shall not carry a pistol concealed on or about his person, whether concealed or otherwise, in a vehicle operated or occupied by the person, except in his or her dwelling house, place of business, or on other land possessed by the person, without a license to carry the pistol as provided by law, and if licensed, shall not carry the pistol in a manner or in a place or manner inconsistent with any restrictions upon such license. So far, he has said that he was carrying it open. He was not carrying it concealed. It was on his hip. But then it goes on to say, concealed or otherwise, in a vehicle operated or occupied by the person. So let's continue on. As soon as I stepped out of the truck, it was wide open. So as soon as he stepped out of the truck, you weren't seeing that. Here we go. It says, as soon as I stepped out of the truck, it was wide open. So as soon as he stepped out of the truck, he was no longer in violation of this law, but he had already violated the law. The officer saw him step out of the truck with it on his hip, which means he had it in the truck on his hip. Ergo, he was carrying it in a vehicle operated or occupied by him in violation of this particular statute, this penal code. So here he is admitting on video to everything. Now, I'm going to assume that this isn't going to sink Ricky Hobby. I'm assuming he was already sunk because I'm assuming that the officer either had a body cam or a video camera. And the fact that the officer is making a traffic stop and ends up with an arrest for Ricky Hobby having a pistol on him, it's not going to be hard to convince a jury that that pistol didn't magically appear on Ricky's hip as soon as Ricky stepped out of the truck. It must have been with Ricky in the truck. That's not going to take a lot of convincing to do. So well, if you didn't have to step out of the truck and you were carrying a firearm in violation of the Michigan Penal Code, maybe you should have just sat your happy ass in the truck and just taken the fix-it ticket. But that's, hindsight 2020. Why can't you trust a public defender to defend you over something like that? Is it because the public defender is going to tell you that, well, you're kind of hosed and you probably want to accept a deal because you literally had the gun on your hip when you got out of the truck? There's everybody is entitled to effective representation. Shit, I always forget to switch these goddamn tabs over. Everybody is entitled to effective representation, and there's a problem that the representation can only be as effective as the facts that allow you, or as the facts are that you have, the facts that are available to you. So the law is the law. There's not a lot of wiggle room in that particular law. Um, I don't know how you could argue that Mr. Hobby didn't have the gun on him if when he got out of the gun, it was on his hip. So you have these facts and you have the law, and there's not a lot of wiggle room. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, my attorney just wants me to settle. Well, sometimes that's the best deal you can get. Um, it's not because your attorney doesn't want to go to trial. It's because there's nothing to be gained by going to trial on that. And despite what Mr. Hobby thinks, he might not get a jury that is sympathetic to him. Mr. Hobby apparently lives out in the woods, quarter mile in any direction away from anybody. And that's awesome. I mean, I'm jealous of his living situation, but he's probably going to be tried in a city. He's probably going to be tried in a city. Most courthouses aren't located out in the middle of the woods. So he's probably going to be tried in a city, and city folks tend, not always, but they tend to take a dimmer view of people carrying firearms. So, you know, sometimes you might not be smart enough to understand your own predicament, but it's an attorney's job and his training and his skill set and his experience and his knowledge that's going to give him an understanding that might be superior to yours in how effed you really are in the a-hole.
These guys violated my Fourth, and they used my First Amendment saying I resisted arrest.
How did they violate your Fourth Amendment? I don't even understand that. You say the pistol was open carried on your hip. You say that you got out of the truck willingly. So you get out of the truck, there's no search. The cop sees the gun on your hip. He sees that you're in violation of Michigan Penal Code section 750.227. Where did he how can you argue that the officer lacked probable cause that you had the gun in the truck without a CCW? You've admitted you don't have a CCW. You admitted it was on your hip as soon as you got out of the truck. You got out of the truck with the gun on your hip. He allowed you to get out and wiggle the wire. Like, where is this Fourth Amendment violation you're talking about? And I don't know about the resisting arrest, so I can't talk about it. There is a lot of times the cops will tack on resisting arrest, or the DA will tack on resisting arrest. Just basically, I think they use it mostly as leverage. Like, look, dude, you're going down on the first charge. We'll drop the second charge, which is really nothing, just to get you to settle so we don't have to go to trial and waste everybody's time, because you're going to get hosed at trial, homie. You're going to get hosed. I'm not Chille, so I'm not going to be as bullish on this guy's success as Chille is, but you're hosed.
I mean, come on, really? I'm 64 fucking years old. I need to resist one bit. I took 2 steps out of the truck.
I don't believe that your age is a determiner of when you are or aren't resisting.
And the officer grabbed me by both my wrists. And then somewhere between that conversation, me asking for his name and ID and all this and that, he said, "Don't go for your gun." And clearly I watched the videos. Nobody moved when he said, he's the only one who moved was him saying it. "Don't go for your gun." And then I repeated it back to him. I said, "Well, don't go for your gun either."
In the first prelim, he admitted that he didn't.
Yeah. I mean, in the first prelim that we went to, I got to tell you, Chille, I got to tell you, I mean, I watched a lot of your videos and I know you know a lot of things. Okay. I ain't going to buck that.
I'm going to buck it. I'm going to buck it a lot because Chille doesn't know shit.
But anyways, we went to see a lawyer before the pretrial. And we walk in there, and I got a video on that. You got to hear it. You'll laugh your ass off. But anyways, we went in there, and automatically, as soon as we walked in the room, he's telling me how much trouble I'm in, and I didn't do nothing.
You've literally in this video admitted to violating Michigan Penal Code section 750.227, which is a motherfucking felony where you could go to prison for 5 fucking years and maybe pay a fine of up to $200 or up to $25,000 or $2,500. 5 years, dude. You're in fucking trouble. You are in trouble. That is the definition of being in motherfucking trouble. You've admitted to doing the thing. The statute is clear, and you're hanging your hat on what? A Second Amendment challenge to it? I mean, I agree with your interpretation of the Second Amendment. The problem is that no one else does, at least court-wise.
I'm in a lot of trouble, and I haven't done anything to be in trouble, other than carry a weapon I've been carrying ever since I've been a child. 12 years old. I've been shooting guns at rabbits and all that, providing for my family. And oh my God, carry that. I always carried a sidearm since 2000, since 9/11. That's when I got my concealed weapon permit.
Well, it wasn't a crime for you to carry it when you got your concealed weapon permit.
Because people are running around with trying to bomb people. Shit, Jesus, I don't know.
All right, he's going to go over a story about how somebody came in with COVID, and I don't really care about all that because there's no medical doctors, etc. So we're going to skip ahead. And no, putting someone in who might have been exposed to COVID into your jail cell with you is not torture. But okay, let's go on.
Killing people.
We have a trial coming up.
Yeah, and I got a trial on the 13th. They're going to strip me from my rights. And these people are picking on me. I went back. I've been to how many pre-trials I have been to already? Three. That third one, they threw me back in jail. That because it was electronic
telecommunication
violation.
or malicious telecommunication.
Malicious telecommunication violation. That means when they processed me through. Now I spent 2 nights in jail for that. That's freedom. That's free. That is. I'm seriously telling you, freedom of First Amendment.
Well, you know, I'm not as smart as this guy is. But this is the act that he's looking at. The person is guilty of a misdemeanor who maliciously uses any service provided by a telecommunications service provider with the intent to terrorize, frighten, intimidate, threaten, harass, molest, or annoy another person, or to disturb the peace and quiet of another person by any of the following. A, threatening physical harm or damage to any person or property in the course of a conversation or message through the use of a telecommunications service or device. So bear that in mind. Now, a true threat is not protected by the First Amendment. Remember that. A true threat is not protected by the First Amendment. Guaranteed, he says. This is Dunning-Kruger. He's on top of Mount Ignorance right now and proclaiming things as though they're fact. Guaranteed. Why wouldn't you say that? Well, shit, I was stupid tabby thingies. Why wouldn't you say that? Well, you wouldn't say that because threatening physical harm or damage to any person or property in the course of a conversation or message through the use of a telecommunications service or device is a misdemeanor. You could be imprisoned. Oh, I'll show this tab now. You could be imprisoned for not more than 6 months or fined not more than $1,000 or both. Maybe that's why you can't say that. Maybe.
Isn't that held right into the Second Amendment? If my government
Isn't that right? Isn't that something right into the Second Amendment? It has nothing to do with the Second Amendment. You don't have the Second Amendment doesn't give you the right to shoot anyone, and the First Amendment, according to the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the land, it does not cover. The First Amendment does not apply to true threats. They are excluded from the First Amendment. You do not have any First Amendment right to say true threats.
is trying to put me in peril, don't I got a right to defend myself from that? Right?
If the government is trying to put you into peril, don't you have the right to defend yourself from that? No. No, you probably don't. The government apparently was threatening to take your stuff. I'm going to assume, and this is not a judgment against you, I'm going to assume that judging by the state of your kitchen, that your property might have some junk on it, and you might be in violation of some health and safety ordinance somewhere. I'm speculating here, but if they're saying that they're going to come and take your stuff and destroy it, that sounds like you're in violation of some ordinance or statute, probably for health concerns. I don't think they were threatening to come out there and shoot you. They're not putting you in peril. They're putting your stuff in peril. And one could argue that it's you putting your stuff in peril by having your stuff in violation of a statute or ordinance or what have you.
I really am looking forward to talking to you, even if it is just on the telephone. And if you do show up, I definitely want to give you a hug. Oh, and if you would, if we was to go down to the county building together, I want to be your sound effect. I'll do the whenever they get it wrong. Okay, Chille?
Oh yeah, that's a great way to when you go to court. Well, first of all, Chille can't represent this fella because Chille is a 20-year constitutional law scholar and not an attorney. And an attorney is the only person who can represent you in Michigan. This is the Revised Judicature Act of 1961, again from Michigan, the unauthorized practice of law. A person shall not practice or engage in the law business, shall not in any manner whatsoever lead others to believe that he or she is authorized to practice law or to engage in the law business, and shall not in any manner whatsoever represent or designate himself or herself as an attorney and a counselor at law or lawyer, unless the person is regularly licensed and authorized to practice law in this state. So Chille's not going to be representing you. In fact, only a licensed attorney, licensed lawyer, authorized to practice law in that state is going to be representing you at court. So Chille's not going to represent you. And if you are silly enough to go every time that you, Mr. Layman, think that the court or someone else has made a mistake, then you're going to probably find yourself in contempt of court sooner or later.
Promise, I'll do it. I know just when they get it wrong, too.
He knows, by the way, he knows from the top of Mount Ignorance, he knows when they get it wrong. The judge, amateur. The district attorney, noob. This guy, Ricky Hobby, is going to own them. Somehow I doubt that.
These motherfuckers here, I want some fucking justice.
We don't have a justice system. We have a legal system. So you're going to get the conclusion of what the law says, probably. You're going to get that. But your idea of what justice is, you're probably not going to get.
There's no doubt about it. I am so fucking tired of all this. But anyways, they put me in jail for that. So now on the 22nd of February, they got me going back to court over this fucking shit.
February 1st.
February 1st?
February 1st, yes. It's when 10:30 a.m. They called and said you had to be there at 10:30 a.m.
Right, yeah, that's what that second pretrial, I wasn't even notified. I mean, they tried to do it like 2 or 3 days in the mail before the court date, but I didn't get it. Somehow or another, I didn't get the notification. It's funny though, the day
This was recorded. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, this says February 5th, 2023. If there was some sort of a hearing on February 1st, he's already missed it.
that the trial was on, as soon as I was late for it, the public defender is supposed to be taking care of me, calls me up and tells me I'm late for it. Why she couldn't, if she knew that they were doing this, just in a couple days and I had to know, why didn't she tell me there was one coming up?
Well, there's probably a notice sent out by the court. You're probably given paperwork either when you were released, like here's your next court date, and then they release you with that. That's normally what I see. Your bonding company, whoever does the bond, at least in California, they always know your upcoming court dates, and they always contact you. Why didn't she? Well, from what you have stated, you fire all your public defenders. So that might be why she might not have been assigned to you. She might be going to be assigned to you. And when you weren't there, for her to like get assigned to you, she called you to say, hey, by the way, you're supposed to be here. But had she already been assigned? That's a good question.
I don't get all this, but I know that I ended up being about an hour late. And then all they did is bring me in the courtroom and tell me if I keep on taking the weapons charge, keep on taking it forward to court and all that. And they're worried about it because they got a lot of video to run through in the courtroom. I was violated on that thing. I know that.
I don't think they're like the court doesn't care and the DA doesn't care. They're not facing any liability for any of this. They don't care. Like it's not going to take a lot. It's not going to take a lot of video. It's going to take about 10 seconds worth of video to show him getting out of the vehicle with a gun on his hip. Resisting arrest might take longer. if there's a lot of video, if it took a long time for the officer to get Ricky Hobby in cuffs, there might be resisting arrest there. But just for the weapons charge, it's going to take about 10 seconds worth of video.
I know if you just let the video roll, that ain't no jury's going to say I was guilty of resisting arrest. And certainly, my First Amendment ought to be, my Second Amendment ought to be just honored there. You'll get my fucking gun back and leave me the fuck alone.
My Second Amendment ought to be honored there. That's it. That's an excellent argument to make, sir. You should present that to the court.
You'll sue them for what they've done. Cost me a lot of money that I don't have. But anyways, I guess 231-638-2131.
Oop. Well, shit.
Ricky Lee Hobby. I would be more than glad to talk to you. I got case file.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put that in there, but yeah, I was slow on the draw there. My apologies. Anyway, it's on his video, so I can't really do much about that.
I got to tell you, on that prelim, I fired that. I was telling you about the lawyer we went and heard. I fired him, and then when I was sitting out the hallway just before the prelim, there was one walking back and forth for district attorney, and he looked at me and says, "You Ricky Hobby?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I did this right in the hallway." He goes, "Well, I'm going to be your attorney today." I looked at him. I said, "I've already fired one a week ago." I said, "You're fired too." I said, "Don't even get close to me."
So how are these people going to actually like contact you and everything like that if you keep firing the public defenders? How does this work? In what universe does this make sense? Like, you're responsible for telling me about my court dates, but I keep firing you. I fired you a week ago. Well, let's see. Today's the 5th. Fired a week ago. That would be end of January, which is before February 1st. And then you're wondering why the attorney didn't call you until February 1st to say you're late? What are you expecting, dude?
In there, because I had Annie with power of attorney. My little Annie had it. Annabelle. Annabelle had.
I go by Annie.
She goes by Annie. It's Annabelle. But anyways, Annabelle, she had this thing all written up that whatever that police officer let out the police report, like don't go for your gun and
Escalating it.
yeah, trying to escalate. Like if I tell you my badge number and
they're gonna try to use what the police officer said against what? The police officer? Like, you're not allowed to resist arrest.
in my name, will you let me handcuff you? He actually said that, Joey.
Oh, he actually said, "Hey, if I tell you my name and badge number, will you let me handcuff you?" That sounds like he's escalating it, doesn't it?
If I tell you my badge number and my name, will you let me handcuff you? I said, well, if you'd have said your badge number and name while you walked up, I would have turned around as soon as you said you wanted to.
He doesn't have to. I mean, there might be some policy requiring to, but in order to make the arrest, he doesn't have to.
But you didn't come up to me professionally.
And you don't get a right to resist because he hasn't told you his name and badge number. I guarantee you that.
I said, is that camera on? I also asked him that too.
I asked him if his camera was on. Ooh, tough guy.
You know who's going to violate my rights? That's exactly what I said to him, Joey. And then when I was sitting in the cop car that he sent me in the sheriff's department car, when he went up there to search my car, I even said it right to the sheriff. I don't consent to him searching my truck. I've said it.
Wow, you've said it. Well, but it's a search incident to a lawful arrest. So there you go. I mean, he gets to search your truck. It's going to get impounded. You've been arrested, dude. Like, it's either an inventory search or a search incident to a lawful arrest. One of the two is going to cover it. You're hosed. I
said, everything I'm supposed to say, it should be right there on camera. And then I heard officers telling me I was a felon. He's telling me I was a felon. And then he's telling me he's going to loosen up my handcuffs. And he tightens up my handcuffs. So yeah, no, I'm pretty much all done. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think that, a lot of people died for our freedoms.
Anyway, so is Annie, whatever, going to represent our good friend Rick Hobby? And no, again, unauthorized practice of law. Now, I want to point out that unauthorized practice of law is in Chapter 600, which deals with the Revised Judicature Act of 1961. This act is all about the practice of law and how courts work and things like that. Now, there is another section. This is section 700, chapter 700. Chapter 700 is the Estates and Protected Individuals Code. And in the Estates and Protected Individuals Code, there is a section called Durable Power of Attorney, attorney in fact. And durable power of attorney in fact, is different. It's fundamentally different than a attorney at law. So you can't designate yourself as an attorney as far as like practicing law is concerned, unless you are licensed and authorized to practice law in the state. You need both. You need to be regularly licensed, that will be licensed by the Michigan State Bar, and authorized to practice law in the state. by the Michigan State Bar and or the Michigan Supreme Court. The Estates and Protected Individuals Code does not deal with the practice of law. Being a attorney in fact gives you the power to deal with the finances and or the health care decisions of the person. The attorney in fact, as opposed to the attorney in law, the in fact deals with the factual things like, am I going to buy this? Am I going to sell this? Am I going to write a check for these particular bills to pay them? An attorney at law makes legal decisions for you. They are two separate and distinct things covered in two separate and distinct codes in the Michigan system. And indeed, you can see some of that distinction because guardian ad litems are different than legal counsel. So you could be a guardian ad litem. You could be appointed to make the decisions for an incapacitated person, a person who lacks the ability to make decisions for themselves. For example, I was in a probate case. It was a conservatorship. Conservatorships in California are where, like, if a elderly person starts getting dementia, they might have a conservator appointed for them. And this was a contested conservatorship case. And so there was the proposed conservatee, there was the proposed conservator, there was also, and so the proposed conservator had an attorney representing her, and the proposed conservatee had a attorney at law and a guardian ad litem who was also an attorney at law, but he was appointed as a guardian ad litem. He was there not to make legal decisions for her. He was there to make decisions in the conservatorship proceeding for the conservatee. He was there to make decisions in her best interest on the factual issues. Her attorney at law was there to make the legal pleadings, the legal decisions, how to proceed in her best interest. That's the breakdown. So an attorney in fact may, I'm not entirely sure. I believe that an attorney in fact would have to be appointed guardian ad litem in order to make the decisions for the represented person, the factual decisions, like, do I accept this settlement offer? Do I make this particular settlement offer? But they don't get to be the legal counsel. They don't get to make the legal decisions for the person. So that wraps it up. Now we're going to do our standard humiliation ritual, where you humiliate yourselves and I humiliate you for you. So we had Merb is a fascinating man. Happy Saturday. I have owned a gun since I was a little boy, shooting rabbits. Next sentence about my first gun on 9/11 because people were blowing stuff up. I think he switched from carrying like a long arm to shoot rabbits and carrying a sidearm. And then, hi, good afternoon. Hello. Chille is going to get this guy in more trouble. Yes, probably. Yeah, well, so the purpose of the statute, the purpose of the Michigan statute is to, on the practice of law, is to prevent people like Chille from fucking it up for this guy. I think Ricky Hobby's going to fuck it up for himself. Yo, that's Chille and Rex2T. Laughing. That was the link. Your transformation into a Chille clone is almost complete, man. Okay. I mean, nice headphones. Oh, yeah. You like these? Yeah. Hello, Merb. Happy Saturday. Chille changes the narrative to fit his agenda. No, really? Hello, sir. Ricky Hobby. Love the name. It's a nice name. Ricky Hobby has a beautiful home. His old school oven is genuinely cool. I have one of those out in the shed. Well, it's not that particular model, but it's one of those old time stoves like that. I think the one I have has a wood burning box in it, though. I prefer Ricky Bobby. Ricky Bobby, come at you, monkey, come at you like a rabid monkey. I'm all hopped up on Mountain Dew. Critique his racing style. I'd clean that stove and take it. They're expensive. Stop making it negative, Merb. Sorry. Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights. I like to go fast. Hello, Talladega Days. Chille is misunderstanding the state law on this matter big time. Not that I agree with this, what the state says and does it all. I know most people don't like to have their liberties restricted. But can the state do it? To an extent, they sure can. Disability is an explanation, not an excuse. Living in a flea pit is a choice. Not necessarily. Some people just can't. They just can't. Chew big red or fuck you. Okay. Merb should stick with what he knows. Butt talk. You're not wrong. Exactly. Proud to be in Alabama, constitutional carry state. Yeah, buddy. Hi, Merb, pink hand waving, or hand pink waving. Jackpot, long time. Even NYSRPAV Bruin still allows for states to have licenses for concealed carry or allowed to keep them. Yes. They just can't deny them arbitrarily. I mean, you actually have to be able to qualify for one. Like a normal person, a law-abiding person should be able to qualify for one. Chille's interest in the story has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that he is trying to get a concealed carry license in California. I'm going to buy Murby some giant red glasses to go with the headphones. I would love to have his stove, restore it. It would look beautiful in a cabin at the lake. Yes. Michigan is an open carry state. The problem is he got in his cat, which makes it a concealed carry. Yeah, you don't want to get in a cat because once you're inside of a cat, it's concealed carry. Hey, Vic. Any thoughts on the armed fisherman losing his civil case against the officer that arrested him for open carry? I'm not familiar with it. I know the armed fisherman likes to walk around going to and from fishing, which is protected in Florida, that he can carry that way. But I'm not familiar with his civil case. I'm assuming that the officer had qualified immunity because it's not well established that you can't arrest someone for open carry if they're going to and from fishing or something like that. Specificity is a bit of a bitch. That depends on the type of holster. DeWitt was charged with the same thing, concealed and holster on his hip. Well, I don't think I think Jeremy DeWitt is in a different state. I think it's a different state. Each state has their own laws. You have to be aware of that. And you can't judge what happens in one state with what happens in another state because they might have completely different laws. And even if the statutes are identical, they will probably have case law on each of their own statutes that differ. Slightly, maybe, but I would doubt that two states would be exactly the same in both the statute and in the interpretation of the statute. Hello from Bulgaria. Well, hello. Ricky Hobby is the best shot in America. Do you know how hard it is to hit a rabbit with a pistol? Well, yeah. I mean, I have done some pistol hunting, not for rabbits. That'd be interesting. I'm a shotgun guy for rabbits, but I'm a shotgun guy generally. 1923 here. Everything that Merb does is filled with brilliance. That has become Merba's fascinating man. I don't necessarily agree with you on that. The state of Michigan considers a pistol is concealed in a vehicle, which in my opinion is absolutely ridiculous. They don't consider it concealed. They say you can't carry it in a vehicle without a permit. I don't think they're saying it's concealed. They say you can't carry it in a vehicle without a permit. And they're probably trying to reduce or eliminate drive-by shootings, which, why don't they just outlaw drive-by shootings? Because that would work. I mean, if you could just make a law to stop things from happening, then why don't they just make a law to outlaw drive-by shootings? I mean, it seems like if you're not going to be deterred by a law outlawing drive-by shootings, you probably also wouldn't be deterred by a law preventing you from carrying in your vehicle. But maybe I'm dumb. Maybe it's Maybelline. 105 watching, but only 16 likes. I don't really care about that, dude. He has to earn it, Philip. We've been burned before. I'm not hitting the thumbs up button. I have a feeling Merb is wearing pants today. That's a dirty lie. How dare you, sir? Someone send Chille a copy of Andrew Branca's book, The Law of Self-Defense, The Indispensable Guide to the Armed Citizen. Are you playing the video without sharing it with us? Probably. I probably did that a lot. Merb, I will give you $6.82 if you stand up and do a spin. I will do that right after I end the live stream. He got out of the truck with a pistol because he wanted to flex. This is why people like him shouldn't be allowed to own a gun. Well, maybe it was just maybe he wasn't thinking about it. You don't know. I don't know. I have a wood-burning stove similar to that one. Mine isn't enameled. Mine isn't enameled either, but I've seen enameled ones that are really nice. Obviously, we're overlooking the obvious Tesh lines versus Danforth versus Danforth that allows you to stop anywhere you want with your pistol. Exactly. Exactly. Hit the like button, please. I don't care. Bad facts equals bad case. Nothing for your attorney to work with. Pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, sometimes you can find something like suppression of evidence or things like that, but I mean, you have a video from the cop. Apparently, you have him admitting to it on video. I don't know where to go from there. Like that's kind of rough. That is awesome. Depends on where you live. Look at his living situation. Jealous. I live rural where everyone has guns. Yeah, I remember like one of the hunting up in Montana. It was so weird. It was so weird. Like everybody was walking around with all sorts of firearms, pistols on their hips, and long guns. It was elk hunting season, and bears are a real problem up in Montana. I mean, they have grizzly bears, not just black bears like they do in California. They have grizzly bears, and every year it seems like somebody gets mauled. So I mean, everybody's just walking around just packing. And like I was staying at a hotel up there, and they had a bar at the hotel, and like people are just walking in, and they're just like they have got their guns, and they just walk through the bar with their guns, and I'm just like in California, like these motherfuckers would be like this. Oh, you're going to jail, and no one gives a shit. Like there's people sitting at tables in there with their long guns leaning against the table. I'm like, okay, they probably had guns on their hips too, but I wasn't going around to check it out. But no one gave a fuck. No one gave a fuck. It was like so chill. It was so cool. Of course, my shit was all locked up because I'm a California retard. I should assume you were not impressed with Ricky Bobby Hobby's sob story about being a poor little victim of the big bad government. Again, the problem is that he can only see things through his eyes, and you could just, I mean, you could just tell like the dude doesn't have a lot of education, and he can only see things the way he sees things. So, unfortunately, I bet his meth lab is lit. I don't know about that. Agreed, Ryan. His chicken and hog feeding shed is pretty lit too. Merb, does Michigan have a open carry law? I know they can with rifles. Well, from the statute that I read, and I only read the one. I don't know. I would have to look it up. So I'm going to go with I don't know. And you probably want to ask a Michigan attorney that. How about that? Well regulated seems to always be missing when the single sentence Second Amendment is quoted. Well, in my opinion, and of course you can have a difference of opinion. In my opinion, that first segment of the Second Amendment is explanatory. It says why we have the amendment. It says why the amendment is important to the federal government. The second part is the what happens. Because of the first part, the second part is the operative part. That's my understanding, and you can cite other sources with other understandings, but I don't care about them. My opinion is my opinion. Chille is a dumbass. That goes without saying. Chille doesn't know shit. That's probably true. Not surprised, Laura. I hope we get to see the moonshine still in this video. Did you get it when you were 12, or did you get it after 9/11? Well, one is a long arm. One is he was carrying a long arm to hunt rabbits and stuff. And the other one is a sidearm. That would be awesome, Ryan. True fact, my family's hearse used to move moonshine during Prohibition, is featured in the Texan Cultures Museum. Nice. Got the gun because of 9/11. Definitely not racist. Here's a fun story. My wife was terrified of firearms. And then in 2022, I'm going to say in 2022, I was living in the city, and there was it was the summer, and there were all the riots going, or excuse me, there was all the mostly peaceful protests going on. And there were mostly peaceful protests going on at a mall that was a couple miles away from where I lived. And my wife has this app on her phone, or she had it on her phone. I don't know if she still does. But it was like this neighborhood, like a neighborhood app. I don't remember the name of it. Anyway, they were discussing on this app threats that were being made about the protesters, the mostly peaceful protesters, coming into the neighborhood surrounding the mall to mostly peacefully protest. And she was terrified. She was terrified of that happening. We'd seen people get like basically trapped in their houses, and people throwing rocks at windows, and there's just all this mostly peacefulness going on. And she was like, I need you to be carrying a gun. Get a gun, get a gun, get a gun. So I got out one of my guns, and she was only like calm when I had a gun. And it went away. The mostly peaceful protests were lasted a couple days or maybe a week, and then it was fine, and she was back to being fine again. But because of that incident, number one, she learned how to shoot. She now is accomplished shooting shotgun, like trap, skeet, sporting clays, things like that. She has her own collection of firearms. It's ridiculous. And she also has several pistols that she is qualified to carry and use and all that fun stuff. And she's accomplished with them. I mean, she's not the world's best shot, but I mean, I wouldn't take a chance on it. Does that make my wife racist? Does it make her racist because she got scared by something? I don't know. Well, that's good information. It's nice to have a healthy bowel movement. Ooh, it feels goid. Hemorrhoid. I do appreciate the big yellow bag of feed for egg-laying chickens. That was my job on the farm, getting the eggs out from under grumpy chickens. Yeah. There's nothing better than farm fresh, free-range eggs. With men like these protecting you all, I bet you don't even need to lock your doors at night. Well, I'm sure where he lives, you don't have to lock your doors at night. I don't have to lock my doors at night. Don't accept the First Amendment jurisprudence of Chille Maria. Exactly. Though thought arises, what's he done to turn into a hillbilly like that? Well, who knows? Maybe he was already a hillbilly. Switch tabs? No. Share the video? No. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That is correct. So Merb, is the well-regulated militia bit in there for a reason, or they just have extra ink, feathers, and paper? Again, I think it was explanatory. I think that was a prefatory clause. Like, because I think that you all need to be taken down a peg, I read your comments. I mean, do you need because I think you all need to be taken down a peg? No, it's prefatory. It explains why I read your comments. The people may have the right to bear arms, but America as a whole has proven it can't be trusted. Do you have any idea of the number of guns in the United States? The number of guns in the possession of the citizens of the United States, it's staggering. It's staggering. If we can't be trusted with them, if we couldn't be trusted with them, then I think you would see a whole lot more gun crime than you do. A whole lot more gun crime. And I don't believe there is a statistical correlation between the number of guns in a state or an area and the amount of gun violence. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of the free state, comma, the right to the people to keep and bear arms, comma, shall not be infringed. Fixed it for you. But again, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state is prefatory, in my opinion. Chille Maria is the Edmund Hillary of Mount Ignorance. Funny you left the last part out. That seems to be strange to me. 1,000 or 6 months. These two are very different. 1,000 is nothing, but 6 months is serious. Right, and 5 years is serious, and $2,500 is nothing. But a lot of times they don't account for inflation on these particular statutes. So let's see. let's see. Let's do this thingy. So this $2,500 was enacted in 1931, and the last time it was apparently amended was in 1986. So, you know, I don't know how much $2,500 was in 1986. I never even dreamed of having that much money in 1986, but I'm sure it was a lot of money. And in 1931, I'm sure it was just a staggering amount of money. So just because they're not keeping up with inflation doesn't really mean anything. Hey, Merv, I'm growing out my beard to show my support. Good on you, buddy. Good on you. You can only put yourself in peril, okay? They call it Mount Stupidity on the Dunning-Kruger chart, but I like Mount Ignorance better. Haha, the kitchen. The original intent was. Make sure that grown out beard looks like pubes or it won't count. This guy needs to move to Mount Washmore. The intent was to protect the state, not take up arms against it. You know, that's kind of weird considering that the colonies had just taken up arms against a sovereign to get the freedom to make their own rules. So, I mean, was the intent to protect the state, not take up arms against it? Maybe it was a little bit of both. Against government tyranny or foreign invasion, not to let people cosplay as cowboys. Well, I mean, whatever. We have to determine the intent of why you're carrying the gun. He's actually an 18-year law scholar. That is how long YouTube has been going. Exactly. I pasted this video on his video, okay? I love how you two haters spin shit, yes. Little Chillito will try to gift this guy and promised him the lawyer. I mean, there's not a lot of lawyers going to be able to do on that one. Ricky Hobby wasn't asking Chille to represent him. He only wanted Chille to send subscribers his way because he only had 10. That didn't sound like what he was saying, but okay. The ammo-sexuals are the spinners, okay? He was late for it, lol. Guarantee you little Chillito will have a fundraiser to get this guy a lawyer, supposedly. He made a video on it. Why don't you watch his video? Chille made a video on it. I just didn't want to use Chille's video because I like to give the original content creator the link and the views. Where is the female voice coming from? Some self-loathing woman lives with this guy? I mean, maybe he tickles her fancy. I mean, looks like Ted Kaczynski's shack. Well, I don't know why you guys are judging him on this. I don't know. Only 1 in 4 of like this. Is he talking to his stove? Maybe he just doesn't want to be on camera. District Attorney? Merb, you're silly. If it was important enough, God would send an angel messenger to tell Ricky Hobby his court dates in advance. Time for a new stove. I don't think so. That's a great stove. And you know what? It looks like it was gas. So, I mean, what's wrong? He meant public defender. Okay. He fired the district attorney. One made in 1900s, maybe. His whole family is soft sit. So, sounds like Annabelle might be handy for him in court. I doubt it. Annabelle has power of attorney, so she's going to represent him. Nope, she might think she will, but she won't. The great downfall of Chillito and friends. Way to sneak in alive, Merb. All good. Chille on the way to save the day. Okay, I've seen enough, Merb. I think we will all agree you should take the case. Yes, no. I thought taxpayers could fire district attorneys at will because they paid their salaries. They're elected officials. There's probably ways to remove them, but I don't know. I'm not familiar with Michigan state law. Even if I supported his Second Amendment right, if I were on the jury, I would have to say guilty as I would vote by the law. Okay. So is Hobbs a felon? If so, then he may have lost his gun rights anyway. Again, the problem is that stupid people aren't able to accurately represent what they've heard. So the cops were calling him a felon or villain, he said. Then she said felon. They were probably saying that he was committing a felony. He was being arrested for a felony, and he just didn't understand it. So take that with a grain of salt. This guy's going to get a huge dose of reality. He probably won't think that. He'll probably think that he was horribly mistreated and abused. I like his range. I think so. I like his range too. I think you're onto something. At some point, did he pull out a trifold and give it to the officer? I don't answer questions. I don't know. Maybe he should have invested in a trifold. Maybe he would have been better off today. Only Chille can find people dumber than himself, and those are hard to find. Is that why Chille is firing the judge in his case? I don't think Chille is going to be able to fire the judge. No, he didn't, and that was his first mistake. Somehow I doubt Ricky Hobby could afford a printer and ink to print the free digital trifold, and Chille's too cheap to send him a pre-printed one. I don't know if you saw, but homegirl, Annabelle, whatever her name was, she was walking around with a flashlight. He might not have electricity. He might not. I mean, I don't know. He might not. So take that with a grain of salt. And I'm not judging him. Like I don't feel like I own things. I feel like things own me. And I've never felt satisfaction in getting more things except for fish and fish tanks. Because you're a slave to your possessions. And, you know, I mean, I work my ass off to pay mortgages and shit. Like he probably lives free and happy, and God bless him for it. I think Chille believes that he has the right to fire Judge Burroughs. Actually, paying taxes is irrelevant to claiming to be a taxpayer. Okay. The backwoods simpleton is headed for an end that will shake him to his core. Yeah, he's headed to somewhere up to 5 years. Yeah, it's not going to be fun. Gals can't make decision. They can't file. Guardians ad litem can't make decisions. They can't file motions on behalf. They can only testify to the court. I don't think so. I think they get to decide what things to accept or not accept. Duties of guardian ad litem appointed for an individual alleged to be incapacitated shall include all the following: personally visiting the individual, explaining to the individual the nature, purpose, and legal effect of the guardian's appointment. Oh, you can't see this. Hold on a second. Boom. Explain to the individual the hearing procedure and the individual's right in a hearing procedure, including but not limited to all the following. Blah. On behalf, including the limitation on the guardian's power, the right to request limits. So they have the right to request limits, the right to request limits on the guardian's power. They can request a limitation on the guardian's power to execute on behalf of the ward any of the followings: do not resuscitate order, physician's orders for scope of treatment form, right to object to a particular person being appointed. Oh, so then they have to explain the right to object to a particular person being appointed guardian. So this is in a particular scope. Informing the individual that if a guardian is appointed, the guardian may have the power. So that's talking about guardian, not guardian ad litem. So this apparently, the statute that I found is just for the guardian ad litem in a conservatorship. And so I was operating under the assumption that was dealing with, maybe it's probably in that section 600, the Revised Judicature Act. Anyway, I'm not going to go look for it right now. They can't file motions on behalf. So you're right. They would be able to file the motions. That would be the attorney's role. The guardian ad litem that would be able to sign on behalf of the person who's capable of making that decision. A lot of times you see guardian ad litems in like where a minor is involved, where the minor doesn't have the ability to make their own decisions legally. So the parent will normally be appointed guardian ad litem. His taxes don't pay the judge anyway. Talking about wills, reading some of the comments got me fucking rolling. Great Saturday to you, Nima. Now I see how you got your name. Details, so trivial of you. I have heard Chille say many times, where is my victim? Ricky Bobby followed Chille's advice after watching his videos, and now he's his victim. Okay. This guy's heading to jail and will face and his face will be covered in mushroom stamps. Humiliation ritual is the only reason I come here. Not everybody has good taste. Nice to see you at a decent hour, Mr. Burr, but I gotta bounce. Love ya. Oh, where's the trifold? Test line should work here. I agree. Many courts pay staff using money from fines collected. Ryan, please type a tongue twister for Murphy. He loves those, or a song he knows, not Lady Gaga or rap. What a brave, noble, huge penis having man to shoot bunnies. I got a total white on now. If you're hunting him for food, like, I don't understand. He was talking about hunting the rabbits to put food on his family's table. Is this guy a prior felon? If he is, he's screwed. I don't believe so. He wouldn't have been able to have a concealed carry permit until, when was it, 2019, when he said he let it lapse? I'm here to remind this gentleman that the criminal justice system is at odds with one love. Okay. Spider monkey. I'll come at you like a spider monkey. Does Ricky talk about statutes or statutes? I don't know. Florida car dealers are required by law to purchase tags. Buyers must give the dealer power of attorney to do so. The power only extends the signing of a tag receipt. Yes. Normally it's limited in scope to what they can or can't do. It's very rarely is it like a complete power of attorney. Sometimes I say things that have no clear meaning or relevance. Good for you. Rubber baby buggy bumper. Car, goddammit, lol. The fisherman guy was arrested for DUI and open carry. Well, driving under the influence and open carry? That's pretty fucked up. Yeah, Cheeky, I only knew about the DUI for the armed fisherman. A classic case of what happens when low IQ meets overly high expectations. It's unfortunate. Speaking of fishermen, how are your fishies doing? They are doing wonderful, thank you. Suddenly, a great deal becomes clear. He got divorced in 2015, and that's why he doesn't have anything anymore. Fishing with no arms is much more difficult than you would think. Wonka wonka. My cat catches rabbits. Good cat. If Chille has a felony conviction, can he own a gun? If he has a felony conviction, he would be prohibited under federal law from owning a firearm. Unless it got, well, I don't know. I don't think even if it's expunged, it would have to be pardoned, I think. There's one way that you can get your right to carry back after a felony that I remember, but I haven't looked into it for a while because I don't have a felony, so I don't have to worry about it. Get the wabbit. Ricky Hobby is as stupid as Ricky Bobby if he think Chille is going to help him shake and bake baby. There can only be number one. If you ain't first, you're last, Ricky Bobby. I think they just don't want the gun on the person driving due to stuff like road rage. I think they have to stop to get it out. Then maybe they have a minute to think first. They probably have to carry it in some sort of a locked case or something like that. This is just another drift for little Chillito. A drift for him. Okay. Talk about Carlos Fuckface. Okay. No, I don't want to talk about Carlos Fuckface. Don't need a firearm versus bears. Cowards. Carry a spear. So one of the stories that was circulating around the bar in Montana, this was a couple of years ago, like 2019. And was it 2019 or 2020? I don't remember. I think it was 2019 because there wasn't any COVID. There were other hunters talking about a hunter who was he had killed an elk and he was doing a field dressing on it to be able to like cut it up to take it back, and a bear came, hungry Mr. Grizzly Bear, and so the guy shot the bear like several times with his 9mm, and the bear mauled him, and I guess it grabbed a chunk and like left after having been shot several times with the 9mm. So this guy who's just been mauled, but like apparently not bad enough that it like fucked him up too bad, but he heads back to his vehicle, and his vehicle was some ways away, but he's almost to his vehicle, and he turns around and the bear that he shot comes charging out of the fucking woods. I don't know how everybody knows all this. And so he empties the rest of his 9mm into the bear before the bear gets to him and mauls him again. Again, doesn't kill him. So yeah, bears are tough, dude. Like like there's a lot of meat and bone, and there's a reason why people use very high caliber weapons against them, because they're huge and they've got a lot of muscle and bone and hide. And yeah, I wouldn't. I when I hunt, I have a Smith and Wesson 500. It's a 50 caliber revolver, and it's enormous. And I carry it because I don't I don't want to get mauled. I'm way too pretty. I carried in Alaska due to rabid foxes and polar bears. Not kidding. Yeah. Feature cat. Montana sounds like a straight up heaven. Oh yeah, it was pretty awesome up there. Too many Californians moving up there now. It's jacked all the prices up. Everyone should go subscribe to Attorney Sean Martin's channel, Potentially Criminal. Remember, just because you did it, that doesn't mean you're guilty. Okay. I used to drink at a bar where you had to check your gun at the door. Yeah. I guarantee you that little Cholito will be doing a fundraiser to supposedly raise money for a lawyer, which he will collect 50% of it at least. Maybe. My cat's a chonker. Good chonker cats. If a grizzly attacks you, better use a handgun on yourself. Yeah, I mean, like, they don't fuck around, dude. Well, like polar bears, we usually shoot to scare them with the noise more than to actually shoot the bear. I used to drink at a bar that gave you a gun with your fifth drink. Nice. In that case, for safety, take it to Montana. You were intended to be a control on government, not the people. People. You were intended to be a control on the government, not the people. People. Okay. The Second Amendment is in place in case the First Amendment fails. I agree. How is having a sidearm more needed after 9/11? Well, once again, I want to point you to this particular quote. He's not a smart man. I don't think that there is a huge chance of anybody crashing a plane into his homestead in Michigan in the middle of the woods. I don't think a firearm is a very adequate protection against bombs. But he got scared, so a firearm to him gave him a sense of security. I would guess that is the rationale that he used. Yeah, you will stop a Boeing with a gun, just like a hurricane, right? And I believe that by gun you mean like pistol, because there are some guns that are big enough to take down a Boeing. Well, the world turns, and a hungry little boy with a runny nose plays in the street as the cold wind blows. In the ghetto, in the ghetto. I like that. That is a great Elvis Presley song. I love shooting skeet. I like shooting skeet. I'm not a big fan of it. I like sporting clays. I like the different presentations all the time. Skeet's fun. Fun fact, Trap Skeet was the name of my band in college and my first girlfriend in West Virginia. Bada boom. I'm so late and well behind. Why do Jose's idiot followers admit to breaking the law? That's a great question, and their attorney would probably advise them to not do so. What did the skeet ever do to you? Get away. They do that a lot. Ryan, I would lead with that fun fact everywhere I went. The summer of love caused a lot of non-gun owners to pick up their first firearm and fall in love with it. Yes, it did. My wife, she grew up in the Bay Area. She never wanted a gun, never touched a gun, and now she's got probably 10 or 11 shotguns and at least 4 pistols and a rifle. I mean, she went nuts. She loves shooting now. Like, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Fun fact, Chicago, the gun violence capital of America, has some of the strictest gun laws in America. Yeah, everybody knows that. I've owned guns and not owned guns. I didn't feel safer when I had them. Shrugs. Statistic cured me of that. Okay. Well, that's your feelings, and your feelings are your feelings. About firearm violence, just look at the stats. U.S. versus the world. Well, U.S. versus where in the world? There's a lot of different places in the world with a lot of different stats. And there's a lot of places with a lot of gun violence. And there's a lot of places with very little gun violence. Laura, I used to, but people stopped hanging out with me. $5 was staggering to me in 1986. Yeah, $5 was a lot of money in 86. I I mean, I was a teenager back then, but $5 would buy you a lot. $5 would buy you a whole lot. I prefer my dog as an early warning device. Lol. Yeah, dogs make great early warning devices, but dogs don't shoot. Well, there's that. I'm okay with my own company. At least 400 million firearms in the US. Wouldn't be surprised if it was double that figure. At least 400 million registered firearms, known firearms, legal firearms. Just okay, Laura? Yeah, Ryan, I'm a cheap date and easily satisfied. Winks. Oh, my kind of date. Deal. No takebacks. You can have my gas stove when you rip it from my cold, dead hands. Thanks for sharing your wisdom and skills. People are not owned by things. People are owned by people in the government. Have you watched any of MJ Aquascape's videos? Yes. Mostly peaceful protest. Does that mean the looting was mostly peaceful looting? Absolutely. Most boring Marvel movie, Legal Guardians of the Universe. Ha ha. Never fear, Jen Wow is here. How's everyone doing this fine morning? Well, better now that you're here. Hello, Ryan. Love Merb. Hey, Jen. Happy Mushroom. Merb, maybe there should be a statute saying you can own a certain number of ground based on how many grizzly bears per capita in that state. Makes sense to me. More bears, more guns. Maybe there shouldn't be a statute on how many guns you can own. Maybe there should absolutely not be a statute. Either you can own firearms, which means that you should be able to own as many as you want, or you can't own firearms, which means you could own none. And beyond that, the government could go suck a big bag of dicks and fuck the ATF. I haven't shaved in about a month, and it's scraggly as shit. I was gonna shave, but I'm growing out because Felipe Hemming ridiculous pubic hair comment. Well, send him pictures because he'll love to masturbate to them. Huge. Damn it, Ryan said huge. I always look away when pantsless Merb stands up. The bear sounds like it was on coke, like Scarface. He wouldn't go down. I don't know. I don't even know if the story was true. It was a story I heard at a bar in Montana, and there was a lot of people saying it. How do you keep 50% of a lawyer? Usually the freezer works pretty well. Make sure you wrap it tight so it doesn't get frostburn. Hey, Laura, don't worry. You missed nothing. Ah! He's not a smart man, but he knows what love is. Okay. Shooting a bear with an 9mm is like shooting a hog with a BB gun. Basically useless. I shot a hog. Neighbors had caught a wild pig as a piglet, and they raised it up. And they were like, "You wanna shoot it?" I'm like, "Okay, sure." And because they'd raised up, and it was time to harvest it, and I shot it with a 22 Magnum, which is not 22 long rifle. It's 22 Magnum. It's a little bit bigger. Shot it right there, and it pissed that little motherfucker off. It pissed it off. So I shot it again, a little off to the side. Again, skull shot, and it just made it matter. Shot it a third time, boop, and finally it went through, and it still scooted along for about 3 minutes before it like stopped. Jesus Christ. Yeah, hogs are tough, dude. Like there's a reason why people don't shoot them with 22 Magnums. It doesn't matter why someone legally buys a gun. It's no one's business. Yeah, exactly. It's no one's business. What part of West Virginia? Shoot them in the mouth works every time, 40% of the time. Shoot them early and shoot them often is really with bears. That's if they're coming after you, dude, start shooting and don't stop until you're out. Sidearms are more useful than the baby arm holding an apple I got in the front. 60% of the time it works every time. Nice. Fun fact, it is easy to bypass the strict laws in Chicago because the surrounding areas aren't that strict. Okay. All the anti-guns can go to China. That's why I said not surprised if we're double that figure. I know, dude. Just relax. Dog can bite until I get my pistol. I mean, I lose sleep worrying about my dogs having to be put in that situation. I understand what you're saying. And yes, a dog's life is worth less than your life. But man, I'm glad you have the pistol because the pistol is what will end it. And the dog might not. $5 worth of penny candy in 1972. Guilty. Wow, that's a lot of penny candy. There's been 5 shootings in the UK recently, and as a resident, I'm appalled along with many other we are asking what the fuck. Prohibition doesn't work. Just remember, people can get guns in jail. If you have enough money, you can get a gun in jail. As a prisoner, you can get a gun in jail if you have enough money. People get shot from time to time by other prisoners in jail. Fancy that. I mean, I've seen enormous knives, not like shanks, not prison shanks, knives in prison. You can get them. So prohibition doesn't work. If it just changes the equation on who can get it. You just have to have more money to get it. Chille award-winning leader for multi-level victims IQ. You're not bypassing gun law by illegally carrying it. You're not bypass a gun law by illegally carrying. I don't understand that. I'm from the Bay Area, graduated in 66 and at 22 and knew how to use it. Nowadays, I much more and not afraid to use them. Yep. Cocaine Bear looks like a fabulous movie. I saw an ad for it on YouTube. Why would you want the bear to go down on you? Well, because if you bought a dinner, I mean, that's just, you expect that, right? Remember when Daryl Brooks gunned down all those people at that parade? Oh, wait, he used his car. The death rattle. Late to the party, but Michigan is an open carry state. Yes, but not in your vehicle. Hey, Burb, is it true that you're related to the actor Tyler Labine? Same beard. No. There is an episode of I Survived about a guy mauled by a bear twice and survived. It sounds exactly like that story. Maybe that's what they were talking about. I don't know. Sure, if there are any other sources of homicide, you can't put any limits on anything, right? That's a silly argument to make. Hey, nerd, first time I'm able to catch your live stream live. Greetings from a bitterly cold England. Well, greetings, James. Merb's seen enough Oz to know about prison. I have not seen Oz. Hey, Merb, first time listening to your live stream live. Greetings from a cold England. It's like deja vu all over again. How does Chille get away with saying he's a scholar, etc., and earn money on the strength of it, and it's not true? Well, there's a lot of stupid people out there. And by a lot of stupid people, I mean people like Ricky Hobby. Sorry. 43 minutes of voice read. Nice. Soon we'll have them up to an hour. Ryan, was the humiliation as good for you as it was for me? Thanks for watching. Have a great day.